Greetings, Professor Crow here. We're going to continue our adventure in Access, and we're going to work with a project, a skill review project that is in Chapter 2. So if you recall, last time we did the Chapter 1 project. So if you want to work along, you can grab the same information and let's go with where we have. So let me get over here. So in our library, I need to go to Chapter 2 now. So working with tables, and the file, if you remember, is in Resources. So Project Data Files, Access Chapter 2. And it's here. And like always, for right now, I'm not sure which files that I need specifically. I know we're going to do the Skill Review 2.2, and so we're going to drag it over here, and then we're going to use, I forget which of these, I believe it's Gonzalez. We'll come back to that if we need something different. So now let's go get our instructions. So we're going to do Skill Review 2-2, which is right here. Once again, I'm going to work over here on the side, and I will put our database up here. Because the way that I drug the database over, it is already saved to my desktop. Now, if you were downloading it traditionally from your project tile, and it appears down here in the download area, then you'll need to open it and do a file save as. So let's go ahead and make it small. You'll notice this particular has several tables: comments, orders, positions, procedures. It has a form, and it has a report. So let's get working along and let's see what we can do here. The skill review has the list of things that we're going to do. What's nice about this is that if you're looking at the skill review, you don't remember how to do it, you can go exactly to the skill itself. So within the textbook. I hate that thing sometimes. There we go. And as usual, I'm getting email and text messages, so I apologize for the delay. Alright, let's go on here. So there are lots of ways to create tables, right? We've talked about them. You can create a table from scratch. You can import a table. You can import the data structure. You can create your table in datasheet view. You can create it in design view. You can create it by entering information. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to create a table in datasheet view. So create and table. Alright, so we're going to create a regular table. So table design is when we want design view. Otherwise, if we want datasheet view, we just click on table. Now you'll notice when I click on that, a couple things happen. My new table is magically here, and it's called table 1 generically until we save it and name it something else. Alright? Also, the very first field when you create a table in datasheet view is always an ID field, and it is an auto number field. So let's just click on it here, select it real quick, and I'll show you that. So if you look here in the properties, it doesn't give you a whole lot of information, but if you look under formatting, it tells you the data type is auto number. So that's where it's interesting. And if you go over here under field validation, you'll also see something here too. You see the checkbox for unique. That means that this ID field is also the primary key for this table. If you remember, the primary key simply means that it is the field where the information will only appear one time in that field. So it's unique. Alright, So let's see what we're going to do here. So what this one is kind of fun because we're not giving it names and things. We're going to let things happen. So we're going to create a few items here. So we're going to create the next field just by typing. So we're going to click underneath the click to add, and we're going to type Miami City Hospital. You do have to spell correctly. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here for you so you can see it. So there's Miami City Hospital. And then we're going to hit tab. Whoops, we wanted to go over here to get to this one. And we want to do what? We want to type the number 87. And then we press tab again. Right? So that just gets us out of that. Now we're going to come down here and enter 2 more records. So come underneath Miami and enter Central Lauderdale. Maybe. Central Lauderdale Hospital. And the number 59. And then the last one is West Palm. And 61. Now we don't really know what these things are because right now it just says what? It says field 1 and field 2. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense quite yet, right? But we're going to get there. We're going to fix this. So save our table. So remember, you could go up here to the quick access bar and hit save. You can right click right here on table 1 and hit save, or you could do Control S. I don't want to save the whole database. I want to save my field, my table. There, table name. We're going to name it hospitals. There we go. Now it's called hospitals. Now, here at field 1, we want to give it a new name. So we can right click it and say rename field. Okay? But we're going to do the ID field first. So we're going to change it, rename, to hospital ID. HOSPITALID. Remember, no spaces in the names, okay? There we go, hospital ID. Now we're going to change this one here, field 1, and we're going to call it hospital name. And then field 2, we are going to rename it to member visits. Now you'll notice I do a mixture of upper and lower case. That's to make it a little more readable. So that helps a lot. So we want to, I'm going to resize it just to make it look prettier. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to do this thing. We're going to add a group of related fields using a quick start. So it's kind of cool how we can do this. So if there's lots of ways to do this. The easiest way is to click under the click to add, and then if you go over here in our add and delete group, this button right here is more fields. Here, I'll make it big for a second so you can see easily. So it says more fields. And on that more fields tab, you can scroll down and you can grab things that already exist for basic types of fields. So if we go down here a little bit further, we have this quick start area. And these are really cool because it's groups of fields that do things for us. So we have this one here called address. And now we have a bunch of new fields, right? So we have an address, we have a city, we have a state, zip, postal, country, region. So kind of cool, huh? Makes it much easier and much faster to do that. Alright, so now we're going to add some data to these fields. So I'm going to go over this way a little bit. And the first one is 4,500 Miami Boulevard, Miami, Florida, 33126 in USA. The next one is 320. And the third one. West Palm Beach, Florida, 33403 in USA. So I'll go ahead and resize this again just to make it a little more readable for everybody. So we should now have, oh, that looks funny. Let's just resize this one by itself. There we go. So you can see what we have here. And it looks like my little, let me retype my address for the last one here. And 33403 and USA. Okay, so that looks much better. So now let's see what we want to do here. So we're going to make some changes to our sizes. So we're going to modify the size of the state field. Right now, if I select the state field, it tells me that it is what? It is a short text field, and its field size is 255 characters. I don't need 255 characters, I need 2. So I'm just going to change that to 2. And then it's going to say some data might be lost. And that's fine, because what it is if I had something that was 4 characters, then it's only going to show 2. But we already know that's okay, so we're good to go there. And we're going to do, this one's kind of cool. So we're going to set the default value for the state, so in the same area, to be what? So that it is Florida with what we have. So it's kind of a cool way we can do this here. So if we were in design view, we would just go down in the properties group and we would do that very quickly for that. So here it's a little bit different. So we still have our state group selected. We click here on default value right here, and then we're going to say equals, and we type FL. That's all there is. We say OK. So you notice down here where my new record is, it automatically put that in there. So that's perfect, and that's what we want. So alright, so let's go ahead and let's save and close it. Yes, we want to save our changes. We're good to go. What's next up? So in the physicians table, we want to move some things around, okay? But we need to do that. So let's open our physicians table. And we're going to move, what are we going to move? We're going to put the phone number. So we're going to move the phone number between the last name and the street address. Alright, now here's when we move something, we have to move it in design view. We cannot move it in datasheet view because datasheet view is like a view only and it doesn't hold it. So We're going to switch to design view. So you can do that by clicking right down here for design view, or you can click right here, or you can hit the drop down and choose design view. So now we're going to do this. Alright, so we want to put the phone between the last name and the street. So we're going to come up here. My cursor changes to a little arrow. I select it once. So I click it once. Then I click it a second time and I hold my mouse down. So click and hold. You see that black line? That's where it's going to go. And then I simply move it where I want it. Done. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Alright. We can save our table. So save. Good. And now we're going to add an input mask. An input mask is something that, so when we, in the United States, when we have phone numbers, it's like 123-123-1234. That's our common with what we look. I don't like to type the dashes, so we can do this thing called an input mask that will do that for us. And so we're going to do that next. So our phone is still selected. We need to get down into that property part, so hit F6. So that gets us down into field properties. You could also just click directly down there. And then select the input mask line, and you'll notice I've got a little drop down over here. And if you get the security concern, just say fine, because it's okay. So we can do, there are a bunch of standard things that are already set up, or we could create something of our own. There'll be a homework exercise in chapter 5 where you have to create your own input mask. So for right now, we just want to do the phone number input mask. So we say yes, we say next, and this gives us what it looks like. Now we have to choose a placeholder option on here with what we want. What do we want it to look like? How do we want the places to do? So we could leave it generic with that underscore, or we could choose another symbol if we want. We'll just leave it generic for the moment. Then we say next. And here's how do we want to save the data. Now, how do we want to save the data is important, because if you're going to have a very large table, then you don't save it with the symbols. Saving it with the symbols means that your database is going to be much larger. In this case, our instructions tell us to what? Store the data without the symbols. So we have that. We say next and finish. So you notice now we have an input mask down here. All right. Now save our table and go back to datasheet view. You'll notice my phone number is here, and now all of the numbers have the standard input mask on there. It's kind of a cool thing, right? It's kind of sort of fun, maybe? Maybe not. So here, switch back to datasheet view. We've done that, right? You can input a new record if you want to with that. So, all right. I had to step away for a few minutes, so now we are back, and let's get this finished up. So we want to modify, we're on step number 13 here. We want to modify the member count field to use the number data type instead of currency. So you can do this in datasheet view or in design view. I'm going to do in datasheet view, or excuse me, design view. So I'm going to click change views. There we go. And the member count field, so I'm going to go to member count. You'll notice it has currency. So we just hit the drop down here and we change it to number. And we're done. It's very easy, right? You see it doesn't show that anymore, and we don't have to do anything else. Okay, so I want to add a new field that's a lookup field. So I'm going to go back over to datasheet view just for fun. And we're going to add a new field here at the end. It's So you notice we have this years in practice field, and we're going to do click to add. So click to add, and the type of field that we're going to do is a lookup field. So we can use other tables and databases to do this for us. Alright? So it's very simple. Look up in relationship, say open if you get the error, and what do we want to do? So we have two ways we can do this. We can do it where we type the values that we want, or we can do it where we're going to use something else. We're going to use another one. So we're going to, for this first one we're doing, we're going to use it from another table. So we'll leave that top one checked. And then what table do we want? We want to use the hospitals table, and we say next. And then from the available fields here, we want the hospital name. So you can single click it and then use the arrow to bring it over, or you can double click it to bring it over. Two different ways to do that. Okay. And let's see, what else do I want to do? So I'll actually follow the directions here for a moment. From the available fields, select the hospital name, click the single button to move it over. We did. Click on the arrow to expand the one list, and choose hospital name as the sort field. So we hit next. Now here's our sort field. How do we want to sort it? Okay. And so it tells us that we want to do what? We want to choose hospital name as our sort field. But you see it also brings over the primary key hospital ID, and that's fine. So we're going to choose hospital name, and we're going to choose next. Here, the important thing is that we see the hide column is there, and we can expand this column too to include all the names. So, and that should be in alphabetical: Central, Miami, and West Palm. That looks good. So then we say next, and then what do we generically? It's going to call it field 1 again, but we don't want it that. We're going to call it hospital name. Okay. And then it wants us to enable the data integrity. Why would I want to do that? I would want to do that because what that's going to do is it's going to restrict us by choosing only the one hospitals that are in that list. Okay, that's all it's doing by choosing that the enable integrity. All right, and then we say finish. So now we have a new field called hospital name, and now we can add some ideas. So let's do the first record. Let's go ahead and we're going to add West Palm, so I can just hit W. And there it is. I'm going to resize it. The second one, we're going to put West Palm again. And then the third record, we're going to choose Central Lauderdale. There we go. So, get out of it to do that. Let's delete the years in practice field. So again, we can select our field, and you see where we need to go. The Table Tools Fields group. So this contextual menu of Table Tools. Click on Fields, and then what am I going to do? I want to delete. So in the Add and Delete group, click the Delete button. So do you see the little delete? It's right there. So when you have your screen small, you have to look for the icons. If you had your screen big, it's right here. So, and this is another thing. It's permanent, so it's going to go away. There it is. Resize again. Alright, I'll make this small again. And what are we going to do? So, we did the best fit. We deleted the years in practice. We confirmed it. Oh, now we need to add an attachment field. So we're going to go over here to our fields. So here's our next new field. We say click to add, and we want an attachment field. Attachment. You notice we have all the paper clips there. You do not rename this field and call it attachment. It does it by generic. All right, that's all we need to do. So now we need to find our friend Antonio Gonzalez. So I'm going to make this big, and we're going to add it to him. So where's he at? Oh, he's our first record. Very easy. So how do I add an attachment? So I'm going to double click it, and then I say add. And you'll notice, remember I had downloaded to my desktop a picture of Antonio Gonzalez. So there it is. Say add, I find it, and then I say OK. Now you'll notice I have a little number 1 there. That tells me that there's 1 attachment there, while everything else is 0. So attachment fields are kind of fun. They're pretty straightforward with doing that. Alright, so let's go ahead and close this table up. Bye-bye. And we saved our changes. So now we're going to create a table using design view. So create table design, and you'll notice it looks a little different. So we have to select some things that we have here. So the first field that we're going to name is member ID. Member ID. And then we're going to leave it as a short text. In the description we're going to put, we can put things in here that are helpful for us. So we're going to put first letter of last name followed, of course you have to spell right, by a randomly generated 7-digit number. So that just tells us what that membership ID is. That's all it is. Alright. We still want it, we want it to be a primary key. So remember when we created the table in Datasheet view, the first column or the first field was automatically designated as our primary key. Here we have to do it ourselves. So we just make sure it's still yellow. We come up here and say primary key, and it throws it in there. Very easy, very simple with it done. Okay, now we need to create some more fields. So we're going to run through these other field names here. So first name, remember no spaces, leave it short text. Last name, short text. Address, short text. City, short text. State, short text. Whoops. Zip, number. So I just hit the letter N and it brings up number. See why I like doing it this way? And DOB, which stands for date of birth, right? And then that's a date and time. So date and time. Alright. We're going to save the table, and we're going to call it patients. So however you want. For me, I'm going to use Control S. P-A-T-I-E-N-T-S, patients. Done. Okay. Now we're going to modify some things. So if we go down to the zip code field, we click it, and you notice that it is what? Where? That's so funny. So remember when we created the zip, we said number. So now we're going to change it to a short text. So we just come over here and we change it to short text. Alright. Now we're going to go in the date of birth, and we're going to go down to the format, down to the properties. So hit F6, and now we're in format, and we want to do a short date. So if you hit your drop down, you see a lot of choices. Short date, that's done. And then we want to do state. With our state, we want to go down to the properties again, and we want to go down to the default value. Default value, input FL. Remember we did that a different way on the other one, didn't we? And looks like that's all we're doing here for the moment. Okay. And then we're going to add a new field for the patient's table that we're going to enter ourselves. So click in the first empty cell in the field name, so that's under date of birth. We're going to type gender. Whoops, cap locks is on. Alright, gender. And then we come over here and we're going to create a lookup wizard. So just like we did before, but before when we did it, we were using it from another place. This time we're going to type it ourselves. So we select, I'm going to type it. And then we have one column of data. And in column 1, we're going to put it what we have here. So we're going to say male. Go down to the next, say female. Now obviously if I wanted to put other gender neutral or things like that, I could do that here too if I wanted to. Now I'm going to say next. And it's our gender field. We want to limit it to the list so that they can only choose what's there. We only want them to choose one gender, so we leave that box unchecked and then we say finish. And save and close the table. Good. That worked out pretty good. Alright, now let's do what? We want to create some relationships. So remember, it's under Database Tools and Relationships. So we have a few relationships so far. So the first one we want to do is Procedure ID from the Procedures table and the Orders table. So Procedure ID, click once to select it, drag over to Procedure ID and let go. So you see, we go from the primary key to the foreign key. So what we have here is very straightforward, right? So what are we going to do? We've drug it around, so we've connected them. Now we want to enforce referential integrity. And what that means is it does not allow us, I'm going to drag this down. If there is a procedure ID in this orders table that does not exist as a procedure in our procedure table, it won't allow us to do it. Okay? And then we say, oh, create. You notice we have a one-to-many relationship. There's the one where it's the primary key, the many where it's the procedure key. And we can save it if you want to. And now let's modify the relationship between the physician's table and the hospital table. Well, I don't have the hospital table here, do I? So I have to say show table and get it. There's my hospital table. Double click it or say add and close. Oh, I put two of them there, so I'm just going to delete one. Bye bye. And here's my hospital table. All right, so there's a one-to-many relationship between the hospital ID and the hospital name, and they want us to edit it. So to edit it, we select the line and double click it. Okay? So what are we going to do here? We are going to modify it so that the changes to the hospital table will be updated to the physician's table. And all that is, so changes to the hospital table gets updated to physicians. That's called cascade updated records. So we're updating it. That's all we have to do. All right? So it makes it really easy. Cascade, we say OK. Close our window. And we're done. So that wasn't too awfully horrible, but it's what we did. And since we're done, we go to Database Tools, Compact and Repair, no errors, close my database, and we are finished. So that was chapter using Microsoft Office 2016 with the Simnet Access Chapter 2, the Skill Review Project 2-2. See you on the next one.